Hello, everybody. We are seriously so excited to be doing this. Thank you guys so much for hopping on and being a part of this editing webinar today. We have a lot of fun stuff for you guys. It looks like everybody is muted, but just make sure that your microphone's muted while we're going through everything. You can turn your video on, you can turn your video off, whatever you're most comfortable with, and we're so excited.
Yeah, we wanted to take a minute and just start with a little bit about us in case that you don't know who we are. I'm Denise and that's Maddie. And we met through photography a couple years ago and became good friends. And we both love iced coffee, no matter how cold it is outside. Maddie will be drinking iced coffee in the snow, and I'm drinking iced coffee in the freezing rain in Oregon. We are both very dedicated dog moms, and we both do photography full time. Funny story to start us off. It was actually on our way to a wedding in Baghdad, Arizona, of all places. You've probably never heard of that, but there is a place called Baghdad, Arizona. And we were on our way to a wedding there when we came up with the idea to launch a photography podcast, which is called Golden Hour with Denise and Maddie. And from there, we spent hours and hours on the phone recording podcasts, and the idea for GHU Golden Hour University was born. We both have such a passion for helping other photographers, and we are just really excited to have you guys here and give you some editing tips today. So how today's call is going to go and what you're going to be learning. One, you'll learn how to apply a basic edit. Two, how to use the mask and brush tool. And then three, some color correcting tips. After these editing tips, we'll be announcing our GHU pre-sale real quick, and then we'll be ending the call and opening it up with Q&A. So from there, Maddie, I'll let you show us your magic.
Woohoo! Okay, so I'm gonna turn my video off so I can share my screen, my Lightroom with you guys. And okay, can everybody see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can see that. Amazing. Okay. So all of today's editing is going to be taking place in Lightroom. So I have my Lightroom catalog open right now. These are some of the photos that I typically use for mentorship sessions. So if you guys have ever done a mentorship with me, then these will probably look a little bit familiar to you. But we're just going to work through a few of these today. I'm going to actually minimize this so I can see everything. Okay. And before we really jump in, I just want to let you guys know that most of the time your photos are not going to require this much editing, especially if you are nailing your skin tones and everything in camera. But the reason that I chose these specific images for today's webinar is because I feel like they have really just unique circumstances and lighting situations that kind of just allows me to demonstrate some of the more intricate adjustments in Lightroom. So don't freak out. I'm gonna throw quite a bit at you in the next 10 minutes or so, but these are just some tips and tricks that I think are super helpful to know in Lightroom, just in case you ever do need it for certain images. So we are going to get started on this image right here. This is the raw photo straight out of my camera. And the very first thing that I would do when editing is apply my base preset. As you can see here, I've got a few different presets that I've been working on recently. And we're not going to go too far into that today, but if you guys do enroll in our Golden Hour University course, then I'll be able to kind of help you out more with creating your own personal preset and just some of the staple Lightroom adjustments that I use for my own. But once I apply my base preset, I'm immediately going to adjust two things. The first is going to be the exposure over here. So I'm going to decrease this just a little bit. And then I'm going to fix the temperature so that I can correct my white balance. This is totally going to depend on what your style is, what your editing style is like. Some people like a little bit more of a warmer edit. Some people like a cooler edit. I usually like to stay somewhere kind of in the middle. So I try to make it just as true to color as possible. So I'm going to go about there for today. And the reason that I chose this photo specifically is because of the really prominent pink wall in the background. Sometimes when an environment is like an overwhelming amount of one color, that color is going to affect your subject's skin tones quite a bit. I'm not sure how well you can see this over Zoom, but as I'm looking at this in front of me, I can see that my cute couple here looks a little too pink, and they blend in a little bit with that pink background. So this is how I would fix that in editing. I am going to come over to this tool right here. This little circle icon is going to be your masking tool. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to select subject. This is actually really cool. It's a new update that Lightroom released not too long ago, but you can actually select each person individually, which is really cool. For the sake of today, I'm going to select both of them by just clicking on subject, but that is a nice thing to know. So I'm going to select my subject and it's going to highlight, it'll show you what the mask is selecting with the red overlay here. If you, sometimes it's not going to be like perfect. So if you do have areas of the background that are getting picked up, you can come over to your mask here and select the subtract sign and click on the brush. And then you can go ahead and just brush away any of those areas that you don't want to be selected. So here it just kind of picked up a little bit of the background. So I'm going to clean that up a little bit. And now we just have our couple highlighted. And then I'm going to decrease their tint to make them a little bit less pink. I'm going to over exaggerate this for you guys so you can see when I adjust this here, it's adjusting only my couple. So I'm going to just make a minor adjustment here to kind of offset that pink. And now that everything looks the way that I want it to color-wise, I'm going to examine the rest of the image for anything else that I might want to change. If this were a longer webinar today, I would show you guys how to get rid of all these little lines and obstructions in the street. And if you are enrolled in GHU, don't worry because we literally have an entire module dedicated to just editing. So we'll definitely be showing things like that in there. But for the sake of time today, I'm not going to be showing all of that on today's webinar. But another thing that I do notice when I look at this image is that the bottom looks a little bit more hazy and bright than the top. So you can see it kind of loses its detail down here towards the street and like by his shoes. There's a super easy way to fix this, and it's actually one of my favorite tools in Lightroom, and that is going to be the linear gradient mask. So I'm going to come back over here to my mask tool, this little circle, click on that. You can see my previous mask right here, but I'm going to click on this plus sign. And this time I'm going to go to the linear gradient. And it's going to give me this little plus sign as my cursor. I'm going to click and drag from the bottom about halfway up so I can just highlight that bottom part of the image and then make adjustments that way. So I'm going to lower the exposure a little bit, up the contrast, and then I'm also going to dehaze it just a little bit. And now that that's done, I'm going to show you guys a quick little before and after because it seems like such a minor thing, but you can really tell with the before and after. So this is before and this is after. Just kind of makes the image pop a little bit more. It makes it a little bit more cohesive, both the top and the bottom. And now that I've done that, I think it's pretty much good to go. I would basically just crop it from here and then we'd be good to move on to the next photo. So the next photo that I'm going to be editing for you guys, I chose this one because I feel like a lot of photographers, including myself, tend to struggle sometimes with greens and color correcting when an environment has a lot of trees and a lot of greenery in the background. Sometimes, you know, that greenery is going to reflect on your client's skin tones, making them look a little bit more green. It kind of blend in a little bit with that background. So first things first, I am going to apply my base preset. And then I'm going to adjust those same two settings right away. So first we're going to go over to my exposure. I'm going to brighten this one just a little bit. And I'm going to fix my temperature, make it a little bit more true to color. There we go. And then I'm going to look and see what other adjustments might need to be done. This is just kind of a picky thing, but like I said, sometimes when there's a lot of green in your subject's skin tones, like you're gonna see it, like if there's a bunch of green in the trees, you'll see it kind of reflect in their skin. This one isn't too bad, but if you are having issues with that, I would highly recommend scrolling down to the calibration section of your editing panel and just kind of messing with some of these saturations. I don't think this photo really requires it a ton, but if you are noticing that your skin tones are looking a little bit green, I would definitely play around with the shadows tint right here. This just kind of helps to highlight only the shadows so you're not affecting the entire image, like in the tint at the top when you're adjusting the temperature. So I like to mess around with that a little bit. I'm probably just going to drag it a little bit towards pink to kind of offset some of that green a little bit. Another thing that you could try is upping your reds saturation right here. I don't know why, and I don't know what the science is exactly behind this, but sometimes just upping those reds a little bit helps bring out the natural color, like colors in your image without oversaturating it. So I'm going to do that a little bit here. If I were to drag this all the way up, you'll see like it gets super vibrant and like super saturated. So I'm just going to bring it up a little bit to kind of bring out more of those true colors. And then now that I think everything looks good color-wise, my attention is going to go right here towards all these shadows on his face, specifically underneath his hat. So I'm going to show you how to adjust that with another mask. So I'm going to go over here to my mask tool, and this time I'm going to select the brush. And I'm just going to brush over the areas where I feel like I need to lift the shadows just a little bit. And then I'm going to come over here to my shadows and increase those probably about there. And then I will show you guys the before and after. So let me adjust this. And that is after. And then that's pretty much it. Honestly, this one, I don't even think I would crop that much. But this looks pretty good to me from here. So we can move on to the next one. This last image that I'm gonna go through with you guys today, I mainly chose because of the weather aspect. This particular day, I think it was like 6 degrees. I'm not even joking. I don't know how we all survived. But sometimes you are going to be in harsh weather conditions when you're taking photos. I used to live in Arizona, so it was kind of similar with the heat, but anytime that you are kind of in extreme temperatures, you're going to notice that your clients might get a little bit red in the face or on the ears, on their nose, things like that. Just kind of comes with the circumstances, but I wanted to show you guys how you can easily fix that up in editing. So first I am going to apply that base preset again. And then I'm going to adjust those 2 main settings. So I'm going to adjust my exposure a little bit, brighten it up, and then I'm also going to adjust the temperature quite a bit on this one because you can see once I put my base on this, it's still super cool. So I definitely want to make this a lot warmer to bring out those colors. And now we are going to zoom in and just adjust the red skin on his ear and a little bit on his nose here. And I'm going to show you guys 2 different ways that you can do this. The first technique is using a brush mask like we just did in the last photo for increasing the shadows, only this time we're going to be using the brush tool to color correct. So I'm going to come back over here to my circle icon, my mask icon right here. I'm going to click on my brush tool and I'm going to just brush over the areas that I feel like need to be a little bit less red. And I'm going to come over here. So you can select custom preset brushes from here. You can also create your own presets. You can see that I have a bunch of custom brushes here that I've made over the years. And again, for time's sake, I'm not going to go too into detail on how I do that today, but in GHU, I'm going to be covering all of that. I'll show you guys how you can make your own preset brushes. So you can see I already have one here for fixing red skin. But for today, I'm just going to show you guys the exact adjustments that I would make to a brush when doing this for a photo. So I'm going to keep this on custom. and I'm going to decrease the tint. So I'm going to decrease this a little bit more towards green. I'm going to decrease the saturation a little bit, which is really going to help with those reds. And then I'm also going to up the exposure just a tad. And then you can see, like, I'm going to show you guys the before and after here. Okay, so that's before, and then this is after. And it just kind of makes everything look a lot cleaner. It looks like we are not about to die of frostbite, which is nice. So that is one way that you can do that. The next technique that I'm going to show you guys today is how to use the color range mask for color correcting. And this one's really fun. I actually use this a lot on my photos, but I am going to go back into my masking tool. I'm going to delete the one that we just did. And this time I'm going to select range and go into the color range. And it's going to give you this little eyedropper tool. And you can select the color that you want to manipulate in the photo. So I'm going to click on his ear here. And you can see it's going to show you a little preview of what color it is that you selected. So if that, let's say you accidentally clicked on something else, like if I clicked on her dress, it's going to show me that it's manipulating a lot of like the whites and the grays in the image. But I want to really focus on this red here. So I'm going to make sure that this is picking up the right color. You can tell that it picks up a ton in the image as soon as you select a color. So I typically, especially when adjusting things like on the skin, I'll refine it all the way to 1. That way it's only zeroing in on the exact things that you want to adjust. For something like this, I probably see how it kind of picks up a little bit on her lips here, and I don't want to affect that color. So kind of like we did in the beginning, I'm going to click on that mask and I'm going to hit the subtract and the brush tool, so I can just brush over that and make sure that that's not included. And then once I have that selection made with the color range, I'm going to do the exact same thing that we did with the brush tool and just make the adjustments that way. So we're going to take down the tint, we are going to take down the saturation a little bit, and we are going to just increase the exposure a little bit. And then I will show you the before and after of that. Got all these adjustments. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is the before and this is after. So you can kind of do that one of two ways. I'm sure there's probably other ways you can do it too, but those are just the two that I go to the most. Another really quick tip before we wrap it up for today is just adjusting the background. I feel like sometimes your subject looks a lot darker in comparison, especially depending on what the sunlight situation is. I don't really love how you can't see a ton of detail in the mountains, because it was such a beautiful location and I want to make sure that you can see those details in the background. So I would go into my mask tool, and this time I would only select the background. And you can see it's going to highlight everything except for your subject. So it's just going to pick up that background here, and then you can go ahead and adjust it that way. So I'm just going to lower the exposure a little bit so that you can really see the details more prominently in the background. There's also fun things that you can do, like adding sun flares with masking tools. I feel like you can't really tell as much on this photo because it is so bright in the background, but if I were to go into like linear gradient, see how the sun is like, you can tell it's barely peeking through here. On certain images, you can go in and kind of add your own custom sun flare, make it a little bit warmer, make it a little bit brighter, just to kind of give your photo a little bit more dimension, so it doesn't look as flat. So that's kind of a fun technique. I just like to do something very subtle, nothing too crazy, but we will also be going over that a lot more in GHU. But yeah, that looks good to go. And these are really just some of my favorite tools in Lightroom. I really hope that that was helpful, and we seriously cannot wait to teach you even more in Golden Hour University. And Denise, I am going to send it back to you.
Yay. Thank you so much. Every time I see your photos, I'm just like seriously in awe, like watching you work. I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. Ooh, like, so thank you so much. You're seriously so talented.
Thank
So you guys all just learned a lot. Hopefully you took some notes, but one, you learned how to apply a basic edit. Like she said, that will be different for everyone. Two, you learned how to use brush tool and the mask tool, and also some really great color correcting tips. Remember, like Maddie said, you don't have to edit all of your photos this in depth. These are just really great tools to have in your toolbox because there are some images that do require this. If you are looking for a quicker or a more simple edit, I'm teaching my editing method inside of Golden Hour University, which brings me to the most exciting part. Golden Hour University's pre-sale. So Maddie and I know what it's like to panic in different lighting situations or to get stuck and freeze during a shoot because you can't think of any more pose ideas. We also know what it's like to stare at the computer screen frustrated for hours because no matter what you do, the edit just still does not look right. Does this sound familiar? Can anybody relate? And are you ready to consistently feel confident with your work? Well, first, please know that you guys are not alone if you feel this way. And also, please know that you're in the right place because inside of GHU, we help you go from feeling stuck, stressed, and insecure to feeling empowered, excited, and proud of your work. How does that sound? Sounds pretty amazing to me. We have created this 8-week online course to cover our businesses from A to Z. So we'll be going, talking about things like nailing your white balance, lighting, posing and prompts, file structure, workflows, editing, enhancing your client experience, social media, and a lot more. So if this sounds like you and you're ready to stop panicking and start celebrating, then this course is for you. GHU's standard price is $14.95. But right now you can purchase GHU for only $9.95. And this offer will be good for the first 10 people only that sign up. So you definitely don't want to wait. We're going to put the link in the chat right now where you can learn more, see what's included in the course, and where you can sign up. We've given you guys 2 payment options, a one-time payment of $9.95 or 2 equal payments of $4.97. And now that we've gone over that, we have about 10 minutes left for questions. So these questions can be about the course, or they can be about what Maddie just covered earlier on today's call. You can either go ahead and type your questions into the chat, or if it's a longer question, feel free to click the reactions button and raise your hand, and then we can call on you and unmute you, and you can ask us your question from there. Miranda said, I'm 3 weeks behind on a gallery because I hate the photos and I'm so frustrated with the edits. Oh, that hurts. It hurts my heart, but I also like know that you're not alone. Like I just said, Maddie, you were about to pop in with something too.
Wait, what happened?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
Oh no.
About her comment. I thought
I was gonna say that is literally the worst. Like oh, and there's snow pictures. Yeah. Snow pictures are definitely hard. We also have a whole lighting section in Golden Hour University where we're going to be covering like different environments and different lighting, like snow, rain, all that kind of stuff. So we'll definitely be able to help you guys with that as well.
Yeah. So many are the courses with GHU at certain times. Okay, such a good question. So the way that we're doing it is the course access doesn't start until March 13th. So you get pre-sale now, and then course access module 1 will be dripped to you on March 13th. And from there, you'll get a module per week to complete. And then there's live group coaching calls every Friday, where we'll answer any questions and help you one-on-one with the things that you learned in that module that week. And then they are accessible whenever after that. You have lifetime access to the modules, but you just get one module per week. So I hope that that answers your question. They're all recorded and you can watch them at your convenience.
Yeah, so if there's ever like a week that you guys can't be there on the group coaching calls or anything like that, we'll make sure that we record them and post them to the community group page. There's going to be like as soon as you get access to the course, you'll also get access to the community group page, which is kind of like a Facebook page. So you guys can like chat in there. You can talk with the other photographers that are in your same group. You can chat with us. And that's also where we're going to be doing the live group coaching calls. And that's where we'll be posting the recordings too.
And we thought like doing the coaching calls on Fridays would work well so that you have the week to watch the course. We kind of thought maybe a morning call, but we can take a poll inside the group once everybody's in and see what time works best. Will you be doing this course again this year? That's a good question. Maddie?
I was gonna say, so we've been talking about it because this is like the big launch, right? Like we haven't done this yet. Like this is the very first, like if you guys enroll, you'll be the first group. And this is something that we want to be like ongoing, something that we can do like for years and years and years to come. So we don't know exactly what date we're going to open this back up, but we will be offering it again. But definitely not at this pre-sale price. And it's also nice because that way we can separate it into groups so that you guys have your own little community within GHU. Because I think sometimes with like the really big online courses, you're just, like a number, like you're just thrown in there. You don't have that community aspect. And we really wanted to make sure that we were able to like get to know each other and like hang out with you guys and like build those personal relationships too. So that's why we're kind of offering it in segments instead of just having it like open constantly. So pre-sale is going to be available for a week. And then we have the regular pricing. It'll be available again for this first group, March 1st through the 10th. And then this first group is going to begin with their modules on March 13th. And then, I don't know, I guess we're just kind of go from there and see when we want to open it back up again.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that this online course really does cover my entire business as well as Maddie's entire business. I've been a full-time photographer for 6 years. I have traveled for weddings for 4 years now, and it covers everything. So when I first started photography, I was on YouTube, super frustrated, trying to watch different videos. I didn't have anybody to reach out to. I really had to struggle and learn things on my own. I moved to a new state during a pandemic. I created a thriving photography business in the pandemic in a brand new state. So did Maddie. And so we've really just put our heads together to create one course, like a one-stop shop for people where you're going to get everything. And to offer it at this price, really genuinely, as a photographer that's been in the industry for this many years, I've never seen something like this. And so we wanted to offer this to 10 people to get in at the lowest price since you guys are our first group. But when we do launch this March 1st to everyone and open the card up, it will be at its standard price. And then the second cohort that we do, the price will be increasing as well. We're really trying to give you guys like an entry-level deal in on this thing and just learn our entire businesses of what we've learned and experienced. And we took the hard route and learned all these hard lessons, and we want to make your route a little bit easier. So that's our goal with this course. Any other questions before we wrap up? Does anybody with wedding photography, how did you get into it? I want to get into that, but I'm not sure if it's going to be the right fit for me. So that's a really in-depth question. Honestly, it's not something that I can just give. I mean, Maddie probably agrees, like, that it takes time a lot and there's a lot of steps to take. And so that's something that we can definitely chat more about in the course, as well as on those group calls where you're going to get one-on-one help with us. Other than just saying like, you kind of just got to start. Maddie, do you have any advice for her?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know for me, second shooting was huge because I kind of was in the same boat as you. Like I thought I wanted to do wedding photography, but I was like, I don't know, because like I hadn't been to that many weddings, honestly, like just like personally before I started photography. So I didn't really know all that went into it and everything that would entail. So I started second shooting. That way I wasn't like the main photographer, but I was still getting that same experience. I actually second shot a lot with Denise. That's kind of a big way that like we kind of formed our friendship and like our bond. That was really helpful because I almost got like mentorship from her in that, as she was the main photographer and I was the second shooter. There wasn't as much pressure on me. But it was just a great way to kind of like get my feet wet in the wedding industry and see what that day was all about. So I would definitely recommend just I don't maybe even posting on her Instagram like, hey, I'm looking into second shooting, like if there's any photographers that ever need a second shooter. I mean, you could even do it for free to start out. That's what I did with a couple photographers. And then eventually like you can start getting paid for that, because you don't have to edit any of the photos, which is nice too. So you can basically just go and tag along and take photos and then send those photos to the main photographer, and then you don't have to edit any of the photos, which is really nice. So you get that experience without having to do all of like the crazy work. And then you can kind of just see if it seems like something that would be a good fit for you. And if not, there's so many things you can do with photography, like so many different like areas you can go in. I know Denise literally takes photos of everything under the sun. So you can kind of pick and choose like what you like and what you don't like, but you'll never know unless you try it. So definitely would recommend that.
And another tip too, looking for second shooting, go onto like your local Facebook group. There's Facebook groups for photographers everywhere, and people are always posting needing second shooters. But I think a really cool, like a really key thing that Maddie said was if you don't have any wedding experience, just shoot for free, second shoot for free for the experience, because now being on the side where I've shot weddings for 6 years, like I want experienced second shooters, and I'm more than happy to pay my second shooters, but it's kind of a trade because you're getting this hands-on experience and experience from someone who's been in the industry for so long, depending on what photographer it is, and you're learning from them and they're getting some help. So go into it with a humble attitude of like you're here to learn. And but I do definitely recommend second shooting as well, because weddings is something that a lot of people make into this amazing thing, which it is, but it's a lot harder and a lot more than most people realize. So yeah, with that, the next question, any tips on nailing white balance in backlit golden hour shots? Girl, this is our specialty. Maddie and I both, this is like what I do every single time I shoot. So Expo Disc, in one word, like Expo Disc is how Maddie and I get all of our white balance and settings in camera. I mean, literally just the Expo Disc, which is setting a custom white balance, which we teach you exactly how to do inside of the course. And we'll be taking you out on live shoots with us, showing you how we run a shoot from start to finish. So that's going to be in the course for sure.
Yeah, and also I just want to tell you guys too, we also have a podcast out. I don't know if you guys all listen to it or not, or if you've heard of it, but there's a golden hour podcast. So we also have a bunch of tips and stuff in there as well. So I know we did an episode a while back on second shooting, and kind of just like getting your foot in the door for wedding photography and things like that, and also some different like direct sunlight tips. So we have a bunch of episodes out on that. So you can definitely check that out too, if you want a little bit more education in the meantime.
I feel like my photos recently have been all over the place, even with the Expo Disc. I also feel like my camera shoots pink and red. Any way to correct that? Hi, McKendry. So excited to see you here. My initial thoughts are, first, I'm not 100% sure, because that's something that the Expo Disc has always taken care of for me. When I shoot on auto, that's when I get like the warm, cool. So I'd have to see exactly like what you're doing and just make sure that there's nothing that we can kind of fine tune a little bit. And I feel like my shoot's pink and red. Any way to correct that? There is a way to correct that. I believe Maddie might have. I don't know if you know exactly. It depends on what camera you're on. And then there's actually like a graph in the camera where you can adjust that to shoot more green.
Yeah, the histogram.
Yep.
I have a Mark III.
Yeah. Which is funny because I've heard that the Mark, like people in the Mark threes, they say it shoots more green, and then when they switch to the Mark IV, it's more magenta. So that would be, I would check out the histogram. But again, those are the great things that as you're working through the modules in Golden Hour University, that we can help you one-on-one with finding that histogram and how to adjust that in camera.
Yeah, and make sure that you're on your camera. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but in the menu there's a like a color, I forget what it's called. It's like color profile or something, and just make sure that that's on the standard. I think it's sRGB. That way it's going to make sure that all of your colors are like true to color and it's not going to mess with anything like that. So just make sure that that is on that too.
Awesome. Well, I think that that was perfect timing because we're going to wrap up this call. But thank you guys all for joining us. If you don't follow us on Instagram, check out our Instagrams, denisemarie.photos and maddie.aldi.photo. And then we also have a Golden Hour University Instagram that we'll be posting on here and there. But go check that out. And then please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you guys so much for joining. And we hope that you learned a lot.
Yay! Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.